Hello, romance readers. If you're looking for your next read and feel inspired by some of the books we've covered on Too Stupid to Live, be sure to check out TSTL's very own storefront on bookshop.org. Here, you will find a collection of books that the show has covered, as well as personal recommendations from me, Becky Feldman, the host of TSTL, who is talking to you right now. So rest assured, you don't need to worry about remembering titles or author names or having to go back into the episode catalog. Just head to bookshop.org/shop/TSTL podcast to view a collection of the books that the show has covered. That's bookshop.org/shop/TSTL podcast. Happy reading. Welcome to TSTL with a little extra spice. This is a new category of content that falls under the umbrella of the Too Stupid to Live podcast. It's a series of discussions about romance-adjacent topics, which I guess is code for every other subject ever. But in this series, I hope to talk to some amazing guests about things that go beyond the scope of discussing a specific romance novel and into topics such as movies, TV, audio, culture, life, love, lights. Now I'm just naming things on my desk. Pencil, water bottle. This is all to say, I'm realizing that super horny stuff isn't just reserved to the bookshelf, so these episodes are the place to discuss those things. The plan is to have the video posts released monthly on the TSTL Substack page, and then a few days later, release the audio on the main podcast feed. So wherever you are watching or listening right now, welcome. We have got a fun inaugural episode today. Have you ever wondered what it's like to record your own audiobook? If so, today's guest is going to take you through her process from deciding to do it up until being nominated for an Audie Award. Yes, author Rebecca Ann Nguyen is here to discuss what it was like to narrate her own book, The 23rd Hero. She was a guest on the show back in August, and I am so excited that she wanted to come back because I just loved talking with her, and I loved The 23rd Hero. So please enjoy this chat with Rebecca Ann Nguyen. Oh my goodness. Rebecca, it is so good to see you again. Welcome back to the Too Stupid to Live studios, shall I say? Should I call it TSTL Studios? I don't know.
You should. You so should.
Okay, good.
Thank you for having me, Becky. I'm thrilled to be in the studio with you.
Oh my God, thank you. Yeah, it's such great service and staff and things like that. It's been, I re-listened to our episode that we did in August, and it's so good to see you again. I want to ask you, because again, this was August 2024 we last talked. It's now January 2025. So I feel weird asking this, but how has your life changed for the better since first appearing on Too Stupid to Live?
Well, I mean, the episode changed everything. I quit my job. It's been good. It's been a wild ride. We had a bunch of book events, sort of my Midwest book tour, which was really interesting because some of them were incredibly well attended and others were not exactly attended. So there was a huge, which I guess that's typical. I'm trying not to take it too hard. But it actually is, it's sort of an interesting awkwardness when you're like in a room and you have like brie and like this cheese plate and like you brought wine and it's just like you and maybe the employee from the bookstore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so funny because I feel like we have all been there, even if you're not like an author. Like, I mean, I've definitely done improv to no one in an audience.
Zero? Just like
zero. Oh yeah, zero. There was a lighting person. That was nice.
That's someone?
That was someone. He was getting paid. We weren't, but sure. Yes, he counts as a person. It's funny you say that because like I feel like I'll kind of scrolling on Instagram and like seeing other authors kind of like talk about their own life and their book tours. It seems like that's kind of a run of the mill experience of like some places are huge, some places are not. There's these external circumstances that like you can't really control, on attendance.
Yeah, definitely. And I tried my best, like to, because my publisher is very small. And so I'm trying to do a lot of the heavy lifting with promoting and everything. Yeah, it's interesting what works, what doesn't. And a lot of it just feels kind of random.
Right.
But that's good to hear, because sometimes I think we see just the authors who are coming from, the big publishers, and their massive budgets, like huge marketing budgets and publicity budgets. And it seems just like everyone is at the Strand in New York and everyone is a New York Times bestseller. But there's this entire world of the rest of us who are writing books, not in obscurity, but somewhere between obscurity and the Strand.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I think I just saw a clip of like Rebecca Yarros at like, what was it, like Carnegie Hall or like something. I was like, why is this an opera? Like, but doesn't need it, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. I guess my point is like what I really like about kind of book, and I'm not saying I go to a lot of them, but like what I really enjoy about book events at bookstores with writers who, yes, maybe aren't like bringing in crowds, is that there's like a lovely intimate experience there that I'm sure you've experienced.
Yeah, definitely. And some of the crowds, we had an event in December in Idaho, in Sun Valley, Idaho, and in that town, it's so arts centric. They have multiple. It's a tiny town, but with multiple, theaters and a privately owned library that was the most beautiful library I've ever been in. And it was a great crowd. And we stayed over time, and people had just incredible questions. And that, yeah, it's so rewarding when things like that happen. And I try to hang on to that, because otherwise you feel like it can be easy to feel like this book comes out, there's this milestone, and then it feels like crickets. It's like, right. Well, now what? And so, yeah, I try to focus on and appreciate those intimate conversations, like you said.
Absolutely. Because it's like, oh, at the end of the day, you reached at least one reader, and you made them happy. And like that's an accomplishment that that you can keep. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to go away. You don't have to put it anywhere.
Right. Yeah. Yes, it counts for sure.
It counts. Yeah. So we did touch a little bit about this on the previous episode you were on, but you were talking about recording your audiobook. And I want to ask you about like what that experience was like with recording your audiobook. Tell me all about it. Like, just start from the beginning of like when you realized you were going to be the narrator. Like, how did that decision come to be?
Yes. The decision that's a key moment in the story, because before that point, so the 2030 Hero it's a sci-fi romance novel that takes place in different time periods, different countries, with people from lots of different cultures and countries. And when I was writing it, I honestly did not think about the audiobook once. I never thought about it. I thought, maybe if someone acquires this novel and then the publisher will pay for some celebrity to do the audiobook, I think in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And so, flash forward to that's not happening. And my choice was either to do it myself, or there was no budget to hire, like a professional actor. So there's some folks who will do it sort of on spec. They'll record it for free, and then they take a cut of royalties. Mm-hmm. And, I think we talked about this last time, but my background is in acting. Right. I went to school for theater. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, if I hire someone who's willing to do it for free, they will either be like early in their career or they will suck. And that's why they're free. And then I'm going to have a lot of feedback for them. And that's going to get really expensive because they're not going to want to redo anything,
right?
Without getting paid. So anyway, I was like, I will try. I'm going to do it myself. I also knew I've never recorded an audiobook before. I had heard about how grueling it was. And so I sort of thought about it as a marathon or like training for a marathon. And I knew I had to get my voice back in shape, just the muscle to be able to sit and talk for 4 hours a day for 5 days in a row. It's just something we never do, like we're having a conversation. So there's breaks, like you talk, I talk. Well, I'm doing most of the talking at this moment, but you know what I'm saying.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So you have to build up stamina for that. And then for this story, for the 23rd Hero, there are over 30 voiced characters.
Wow.
More than half the book is dialogue. And there were a bunch of different accents to do, French, Swedish, Australian, all sorts of like questions around how to voice different genders. How do you voice multiple characters who are the same gender, around the same age, the same race, the same background, and make them sound different?
Right.
So
yeah.
it's like lots of different challenges. I got a coach. I worked with a voice coach, Eric Singer, who's based in New York and was wonderful and helped me a lot with not just with like how to do the dialect or the accent, but how do you approach the whole thing? Like how do you sort of a strategy, you know, like one of the weirdest things that we had to figure out was the whole idea of a French accent, because in the book, Sloane goes back in time. She is in 16th century France, which is France before it was France.
Right.
And they weren't even speaking French, modern French. They're speaking Middle French. And then on top of that, she's in the south of France where they speak a totally different language, which is like this sub-dialect of Occitan, which is Provençal. I mean, it was so complicated. And so I was like, how am I going to possibly learn this dead language, this accent for a dead language that's also this dialect? Ultimately, we just said, you know, what would a reader be expecting? You know, like they see it set in France, they're probably expecting French accent, which isn't accurate, but it might be just more believable for the world of the story.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we ultimately went with.
So did you have experience like with your theater background and your acting background? Did you have any experience with accents, or was this your first time kind of going into it?
I had some experience with accents, not with these accents.
Right.
I think I had to do like a Polish accent in a play, definitely British. That seems to come up, English, that seems to come up quite a bit in theater, but never Swedish, which was just, oh my gosh, that's a really tough one. Yeah. The other hard part was like, so many people who are native speakers of non-English languages speak English so well that it was very difficult to find like samples to listen to. Like I want to listen to a Swedish accent, but this native Swedish speaker is speaking English and it sounds kind of like me, you know? It's like, I can't hear your accent. Like I need a thicker accent. So yeah, that was tricky too. But I had never really done, explored like how do I voice a male character?
Right.
How do I voice like an older male character? And when I first started, I thought I would want to make it as realistic as possible. So I'd watch a lot of videos of like folks who are transitioning, you know, folks who are, you know, sort of thinking about how do I find my new voice in this new gender. But what I learned from Eric was you don't have to do that because that will like hurt first of all, you know, to like really try to get down here. But it's the voice thing is like relative. So if you're in a scene and you're voicing like a female character and a male character, I mean, this is going to be just a stereotypical example. But you can bring the female character a little bit up here. And that's still like my voice pretty much.
Yeah.
Then I can, you know, kind of go down here and that's still my voice too. But now I'm the guy.
Right.
So you're not pushing it, but it's just in relationship in the moment to each other.
Was it hard to like maintain those different voices? Like, I guess it's like let's say you were using a male voice in one chapter and then he's like popping up, he goes away for a second, pops up again in 2 chapters later. Like, how did you remember what you were doing voice wise?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it definitely was a challenge because, I mean, it's a long book.
Yeah.
And there's definitely, I mean, Bastian, who's Sloane's love interest, is, you know, in the book a lot or in the middle, and then no spoilers, but comes back at the end. But there's a whole world. She lives this whole life in France in between. So I think I wrote myself notes, but just a lot of like rehearsal and practicing and reading the dialogue over and over again. And when we were recording, I would, you know, working with a wonderful engineer, and we would stop and I'd say, no, I think that Zachary sounded a little too much like Bastian, or, you know, vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And try to find just little, any kind of little differentiator to like hang your hat on. Like I decided for Simon, that's Sloane's twin brother, who happens to be gay. And I decided that I'm going to voice Simon as my voice that I use every day. That's going to be my voice. Whenever Simon talks, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to be myself. When I'm Sloane, I know I'm a little bit higher in my register, like a little bit brighter. And then for all the different guys, there was like something that I either, you know, it's a bit more monotone, or it's a little lower in the register, or they have like a particular way of finishing their sentence. Like I would find something I could kind of hang my hat on, and then I would lock in to that character.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So it's like index card, do this. Yeah, I really like that. That's awesome. Did you work with like, I mean, you mentioned working with a coach, but like during production, like when it's you, the microphone, there's a person on an engineer, is there a director, or was your coach with you like in the room as you were recording?
No, he was not. And there was no director, which I think is actually pretty rare. I mean, I think it depends on the book. Like any big book that you've heard of that's coming out from Penguin, or, you know, Simon & Schuster, whatever, probably they have producers. They definitely have a director. Sometimes they have a full cast. Although audiobook is one of those, like the last remaining art form where it's acceptable for one person to voice characters of different races, genders, you know, everything. But some of them will have a full, you know, it's like almost like a radio play, full cast. You know, so it's just me. It was definitely just me. So me and the engineer, really, and who had a lot of really helpful feedback too, not just on like how not to blow out the microphone, but he would, you know, ask questions about the story, and even with things like the character, he would sort of give feedback when he was like, it sounds like really different from what you did before.
Right. Yeah. And I imagine you had to like break it up into like smaller chunks, you know, as you were recording, particularly for all of the dialogue, I imagine.
Yes. We start from the beginning, kind of go as long as I could that first day. And it was over the course of 5 days. And I remember the end of the first day, I thought, there's no way we're going to finish this week. Like, absolutely not. My throat feels like it's on fire. I was at home at night parenting my kids through like text to voice, like go to bed. And I, had to do it, like finding good stopping places, but kind of more based around just what you have left in your throat.
Right. Yeah.
The other thing that was like interesting too was working on sections that had a lot of like back and forth dialogue. So coming from theater, and you're an improv person too. Like I'm very much thinking about making something work live. Like I hear the music of the dialogue and I want it to like, you know, go back and forth in a certain cadence. But with the art of, you know, it's a recording studio, so like he can edit later. So I have to keep reminding myself that I didn't have to rush, and I don't have to get the back and forth perfect. Cause it was hard to switch between when, you know, a guy and a gal having a fight, and I'm both. And I'm like, why did you do this? What are you talking about?
Right.
And they interrupt each other.
Yeah.
So I had to like take it a little slow, and then afterwards say, hey, can you tighten that up? So it sounds like they're talking over each other.
Yeah. But it must be nice to just like have that option of like, oh, okay, you can, it's unlike live show, you can't stop and be like, speak up for yourself and what you want it to look like, you know? Like,
can I try that again?
Yeah. You did have, you know, the book does have a very sensual scene when our two characters profess their love for each other, and they sleep together. Tell me about like what that was I just got all my words confused. Tell me about what recording that was like. It
was really fun, and it was slightly hilarious, I think, because so the engineer who's, you know, my dad's age, I'm in my 40s, my dad's in probably 70s, 60s or 70s, and a grandfather. So we talked about his grandkids, you know, before we're recording, and his, you know, his lake house, and, you know, really nice guy, Steve. And so then as we're working up to the sexy parts, you know, Steve was very involved and had a lot of feedback. I mean, he was even questioning like the names of characters. Like, are you sure that that's the character's name? And I'm like, yeah, Steve, I wrote the book. I'm pretty sure. You know, so Steve is like very involved, right? But as soon as we get to the part where, you know, the dress is falling to the floor, you know, and I can't even remember, but, you know, things are heating up. Steve goes radio silent. And those were the sections where I blew through them like the fastest of anything else we worked on. No going back, no feedback.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I assume it was just because he was just uncomfortable. Some people have suggested it was because he was very excited by the content.
Right.
Regardless, he definitely didn't want to go there with me. So he kind of just listened.
Yeah. That's so funny. I love that. I feel like, you know, being like reading romance and like, you know, talking about sex openly and like kind of my issues openly, it's like you can only go so far where like you can just like shut other people up because they're like, I have no input. Like, he's not going to be like, oh, did you get that body part correct? He doesn't have it. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't believe she'd already be coming to orgasm right now.
You just think it's like this, you're there for that realization of like, oh, I have nothing to contribute. This has never happened before. I have to be quiet? What?
Yes. It's also funny because it's just, you know, we live in an age where we have content warnings, and it's, you know, like to even be, I wonder how you deal with this in the work that you're doing. It's sort of like there are spaces where it's open and acceptable to be talking about anything and to be reading, you know, like a sex scene. And then there's other spaces where it's absolutely not. And then you're sort of in this professional situation where we just met, I'm recording, you know, it like we would never talk about this outside of the fact that I'm recording it. Like, we're not going to go talk about sex, right? Like,
yeah.
But now you're going to listen to me, like, you know, he was inside her, then all of him, and they both gasped. You know?
Right.
And you're going to go like have lunch in the break room.
Right.
So yeah, it's an interesting, but I mean, I felt safe and comfortable, but I think I was more worried that he would feel uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's always a thing. Like, I think is like maybe a people pleasing tendency. You want to make sure like, hey, this is vulnerable, but it's palatable for everyone. So blah, blah, blah. Don't worry. You know, I get that. But you always are going to run into, like, I think anyone who is into this stuff, let alone writes it and performs it, have to have run into in their lives a silly comment, an awkward conversation when someone accidentally sees the book in your bag. You know, like, it's always going to be like, you're not immune to other people's like feelings about sexuality.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's so fun. It's really funny because like thinking about like audio erotica, and not that I have experience listening, but not producing or whatever. But I did go to a kind of like it was like a panel about like, it was like a sex positivity panel, and like there was someone who was talking about like what goes into making audio erotica, and like people think it's like, oh, it's just porn happening and there's like a mic recording it, and it's like it's the most unsexy thing in the world. Like, there are people who are just like taking two pillows and slapping them together. You know what I mean? Like, it's not at all like, you know, like it's not, it's just like these people just need to create a sound and then go home and live the rest of their life. Do you know what I mean?
That sounds like kind of a fun job. I had always thought that I would enjoy, like, remember back in the day of like phone sex lines?
Yes.
Or like the people who get hired to do the voiceover for pornography where it's, you know, like whatever they didn't catch, and they just like, you're just coming in and we're paying you a day rate to do the grunting and like the breathing. I was like, that, I thought that'd be a blast.
I know. It sounds so great. And like, I'm imagining it gets to a point where it's just like another day of work, you know, and you don't realize how ridiculous it is until they're like, oh, how was work today, honey? And you're like, oh, I just grunted like 20 times or whatever. And then you're just like, oh, that's weird. You realize that.
Of all the ways you could like make a living though, I mean, that sounds fun to me.
It's so wild. I mean, it does look like so much fun to do. And it's so funny how normalized it can become, like when it's your everyday, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. There's something too about like whatever format it's taking place in, it's recorded or it's, you know, video, audio, there's some sort of distance, I think, that comes with telling the story and making it a thing that makes people okay to listen to it. And like my dad listened to the audiobook twice and he like wasn't weirded out by, you know, because like, it's funny, which I think is a good sign too, if you can sort of forget that it's like, you know, the person and you're just like kind of lost in the story.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because like, it's at the end of the day, like, it's like your parents are going to be proud of you. And it's like, if they want to do an audiobook about how weird it was to listen to their daughter, I'll listen to the audiobook. Like, that's my thing, is like, you're the one getting up there, you know, this is what you're saying. That's your right to say.
Oh God.
Yeah. Had the Steve, the engineer, like, had he worked with romance before, or like anything that was like bodice rippery or anything like that? Or this was like his first time?
I think that it might have been his first time.
Wow.
They've definitely done other audiobooks, like definitely had done other novels, but yeah, I don't get the sense that it's like they're not like a romance audiobook house, you know, like churning them out. So yeah, it was definitely, but it's funny because I feel so, you know, to me, it's you know, the sexiest thing I've ever worked on or the most explicit, but no one, like literally no one who has read the book has felt that way. They're like, Rebecca, like PG-13, come on. And I was like, okay, I guess because I'm the one writing it, I feel like, oh my gosh, like you're going to know what's happening. And it's just like very vanilla sex too. I mean, again, spoiler, but it's, I mean, they're in love.
But I mean, here's the thing. What's so interesting since doing this podcast for so long is just seeing what people consider vanilla, what people consider spicy, what level is vulnerable, what, like, even like what's pornographic versus what's sensual, you know? And I would imagine that the first time you're putting something out that has any sort of sensuality, vulnerability, and sexuality, it feels like it's going to be a big deal no matter what the content is, just because you are being so vulnerable.
Yes. I mean, that's how it feels to me too. I was like, yeah, very insecure and worried about the whole thing. And it's been very funny to just the collective shrug from everyone I know who's read it is like, okay, all right, it's fine.
I mean, it's funny. I wanted to ask you, like, since this book came out, like, I know that like it wasn't like when you were starting it really wasn't intended to be a romance, you know, like it suddenly with your ARC readers, they read it and they're like, this is a romance. Tell me about, like, since August, like what it's been like with your relationship to like the romance novel community and this book, and like how like that's been going for you.
I definitely noticed that the people who like the book and the most tend to be people who do read romance and enjoy romance and love stories. It's been really tricky because the plot and like the genre, it's positioned as science fiction,
right?
And there's time travel. However, readers who are like hardcore sci-fi or read everything time travel, oh my gosh, they hate it. They hate it. They hate it. They hate it. They DNF it. They're so
Mm-hmm.
angry with me for not explaining the physics of the time travel. And so
nerds. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Nerds.
So I definitely think it's, but on the other hand, it's not romance in that it's not like we have a kiss within the first 5 pages, and it doesn't, always follow like a particular structure in that way. But I do, what I like the most and what resonates with me the most is the love story, like 100%. So I hope that, like, if readers who are like, I love stories, I would never read sci-fi, I hope they'll give it a try, because I think the heart of the book is really love story. And there's just like some sci-fi stuff happening in the background.
Yeah.
Just as a love story.
Which is what, like the thing is that like there's like science fiction to me. I could be wrong. Actually, I could be very wrong. But when I think science fiction, I think like the universe and like the atmosphere it takes place in. But the story itself could be any story. Like it can be a love story or a heist movie or a heist story or a thriller or something like that. It's just like there's, cool technology all around you, or you're in space, or, wherever. Yeah. But this actually is like speaking, I think, to a larger issue with like, not issue, but something that's been on the front of my mind is just the way that genres are being marketed. And is there kind of like a genre gatekeeping happening? Like what makes something sci-fi? What makes something romance? And obviously we know what makes something romance, but I guess just with this influx of romantasy novels of, these very specific books that are just kind of taking over book talk, is there some sort of pressure, I don't know, to kind of cater to a specific kind of genre expectation versus what you just want to write because you're a creative person?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I struggled mentally with just, what is this? Where does it fit? Because where does it go in the bookstore? That just the whole publishing piece is so reliant, I think, on genre. And there's definitely like a movement to, I think there's some writers out there who say genre doesn't exist. I don't believe, I'm not going to even consider it. I probably am more in that camp. I do think there's a lot of wonderful writers who rock a particular genre, and they love, the sort of the rules of that genre, and they're, cranking out, and readers love it. And it's wonderful. That's great. I did a lot of writing earlier in my career that was always for someone else. Freelancing and writing for small businesses. And even in my day job now, like everything I write has to follow constraints. Someone else has to approve it. And so when I think about writing to genre, I think of it like that. Mm-hmm. Like it has to be this, and that's no fun for me.
Sure.
I can't, if I tried to do that, it would feel like it's not coming from me. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, if what came out of me fit nicely into a genre, that would be wonderful. But if it doesn't, I'd rather be more honest. I need to be more honest with what the story that I want to tell, because otherwise I'll never finish it.
Right.
Like I'm not motivated by do this so you can sell the books. Like that won't get me to the finish line.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I totally hear you. And I think when it does come with like two love stories that have a happily ever after, or anything with like sex on the page, it's hard to not be like, all right, let's market this as romance. You know what I mean? Like let's market it as this one thing. Like, and it's like, it's interesting because it feels like, well, all we're talking about here is just a sex scene that can be in any genre, or right. It's a love story that could be in any genre. And so it's just like interesting, like, I don't know, or just like kind of maybe a collective need to like put something on shelves, obviously, but to like just categorize everything for like maximum profitability versus just read a good book.
Totally. And I see that with like literary fiction a lot too, like trying to entice readers by playing up the love story or, some carrot, which I mean, again, understandable. Like we want people to read the book. But it can be really misleading too, because I've read quite a few books that promised me this epic life-changing love story, which that's my thing. That's my favorite. And then you read the book and the love story is like, I don't know, like 10% of the book, 90% not, or doesn't like really matter to the story that much. It's just kind of like off to the side of detail.
Yeah, absolutely. Or like when someone like says like there was one kiss in it and they're like, this is sizzling. And you know, and it's like, great. I mean, sure. I guess it sizzles. Like, I don't know, you know, but yeah. So we were talking about kind of like, last time, just this kind of how much you grew as a person writing this book, putting out this book, you know, being proud of your voice. And I know that you were only in the audio studio for a week, but I was just curious if there was some kind of parallel between that 1 week of recording the audiobook, getting the nomination, all of this stuff, and the process of writing, like how they kind of parallel with each other, you think?
Ooh, I like thinking about that. I don't know if I've really considered it before. Yeah, I guess it does feel like it definitely took a lot of confidence, or maybe just courage, I think, to do the audiobook and to decide to really voice the characters. I mean, I had some friends tell me, they're like, oh, just read it. No, just read it straight. Don't do voices. And I didn't listen. And then I had others tell me not to do it at all. And that, yeah, I guess maybe that's like a key milestone, because I was definitely getting advice that I didn't take. And I'm glad I didn't take it, because it seems to have worked out pretty well.
Yeah. Hello. Tell me about the nomination and like how does that happen? Tell me everything about that. You've been nominated for an Audie Award.
Yes, unbelievably, incredibly.
So
cool. When the book is coming out, the publisher can submit it to all sorts of awards. I mean, anything big, small, like genre specific, or the Reader's Choice Award. That was another award that the book won in just like a general novel category. And so, yeah, this was another, like the nice thing about the Audie Awards is that it's considered the most, you know, prestigious award that an audiobook can win. So the Oscars of the audiobook world. But any publisher can submit their audiobook. So you don't have to be big. You don't have to have a big budget. I mean, you can just send it in. And yeah, this is about 2 weeks ago now that I got an email, which I thought was spam, and I almost deleted it.
Of course.
Just from the way that the subject line was written. It was something like, your urgent action is needed. And I was like, oh God, what's this? But
yeah, that's spam. That's the literal all spam subject lines. Come on, Audies.
That I opened it. But even when I opened it, it wasn't exactly clear what had happened. And it was addressed to the publisher, and it was like, confirm your nominees in this spreadsheet. So just everything about this, I was like, what even is this? And of course it's been, I don't know how many months, 6 months or more since we submitted. Anyway, so then what happened is I found out that the book is a finalist in the narration by the author category, alongside Whoopi Goldberg, and Salman Rushdie.
Wow.
And a New York Times bestselling author, and then another author who is like celebrity endorsed, Mindy Kaling's imprint. So and then there's me. And then I'm scrolling through like the list, because we got to see sort of like the list of everyone who's nominated in all the categories before it was made public. And I mean, Barbra Streisand, Elton John, Robert Downey Jr., John Mulaney, Cynthia from Wicked. I'm totally forgetting her last name right now.
Erivo. I was about to say Bailey, but she's on Housewives. Okay, anyway.
Her. She's so hot right now. And then, so I was like, this doesn't seem right. But they send, they're like, approve these social graphics, and there's the cover, their 23rd Hero. And I was like, I still think that they're going to write me back and just be like, we are so sorry. We made a clerical error. Your kind does not belong here.
Right. Yeah.
I'm still a little bit like, are they sure? So
of course they're sure. I mean, listening to your voice right now, I mean, you are a public speaker. You do speak. So you have the skill of both writing and acting, like it's pleasant listening to you right now. So obviously someone's correct. Someone didn't make a mistake.
It's what's fun. What's cool though is that what I realized is, I think like Academy Awards or any of these big shows or like any kind of big milestone, I guess in my mind, I'm like, it's who you have to have the relationship. You have to have a friend who's going to connect you with the person,
right.
Just maybe a little cynical. But so I know no one at the APA, the association. I have no idea who listened. I have no idea who passed it along and then another person listened, and there probably are committees and there, so some people who I've never met are saying yes, like all the way up, which is so heartening, which means like, you guys, like literally anybody can do it because I have absolutely no one's ever heard of me. They really just listen to the work, which was, I can't believe it. It's amazing.
I mean, it's also like, I imagine that these people who are, listening to your submission are probably listening to so many other submissions as well that aren't Whoopi or Barbara or whatever. And the fact that like yours like stood out among, I mean, it's 5 out of, I guess there's probably 1,000,000 that were narrated, produced, published audiobooks last year, and just the fact that like, oh, there was someone who like listened to it and like was touched, you know what I mean? And was like taken, like just, there was someone out there who's like, just, I don't know. I just think like being remembered is just, there's something so honoring about it,
Yeah. Especially when it's so rare, at least it's rare for me, because so much of this, like this work is putting yourself out there and submitting and hearing no.
Mm-hmm.
And then accidentally reading horrible reviews about your own book, which then you learn to never look. But so it's definitely, I think it's rare that you have something so concrete that some reputable body is saying yes to you. I imagine it doesn't, for most of us, it doesn't happen very often, if at all, ever. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And like at the end of the day, like, when you have those moments of like, oh, no one was at that book reading. Well, guess what? You were nominated. You know what I mean? Like there was someone at the Audies who were like, this has reached me. This is important work. I was touched by this. I was moved by this. And their opinions count, they count. And it's more important than anything.
Gosh, it's unbelievable. I mean, and I had heard of the Audies, but I didn't understand there's a gala and there's like a red carpet and like it's a whole thing. Yeah. So I have to like figure that out and the outfit and the, practice my posing.
Yeah, for the what's it called, step and repeat or whatever.
Oh my god! Or like I've been definitely looking at some photos of advanced moves that I'm not going to try, but I can stick one leg in front of the other, I think, and like maybe put my hand.
I can't even do that. That's impressive.
On the hip.
And especially if you're like not going to be wearing flats, which I don't understand how people do. Like that's like, oh my god, it's huge.
It might need to be flats. To be honest, it's been maybe too long.
I haven't worn heels since a Halloween costume in like 1997, but tell me about like what this nomination means in terms of your future work. And I know that you were working on a prequel to the book last time we talked. Are you going to narrate more of your own stuff? Like, do you see this as like kind of an avenue for you?
I hope so. I think I'd love to do it. I mean, it's funny. Like all I need is a little bit of encouragement, like someone pat me on the head and say, good job. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll do more. So yeah, this is a big pat on the head. So yeah, I'd love to. I hope with this next book that I'm working on, who knows who the publisher will be and what they'll want to do. But I always thought like, I'll at least, can I audition? Can I try? If they don't want me or, but on the other hand, if they want like Claire Danes or some big star, of course I'm going to be like, yes, thank you. Go Claire.
Sure. Yeah. Or, oh gosh, who did Britney Spears's novel? It was Michelle Williams. Yeah.
Who's nominated for an Audie, by the way.
There we go. Well, you're going to meet her, but she'll sit at the same table. It's going to be great. We'll be best friends.
Oh my gosh. And I'm such a dork just anyway, but then they give the finalist these medals, like an Olympic medal, like with a ribbon, you know, to wear around your neck during the show.
Oh my
God. It's like everyone knows it's you.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I was like, how am I going to coordinate that with my outfit?
Now that's something they should have told you beforehand. Just like be like, okay, the ribbon is this color to coordinate it. You know, come on now, guys. Like a Kennedy Senator honor. You know, like,
seriously. Oh my gosh.
Well, I think it is so cool, and congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's absolutely unbelievable. I don't like on the very slim chance that I would win, I don't think I have to make a speech. The audios are kind of cool. Like they kind of go faster and they go through most of the awards and they have, you know, presenters and they announce, but like the speeches aren't allowed until the last, like best audiobook category or like best narrator, you know, the big ones. They save them. So I think my category is just like sit in the audience. You're fine.
I love this. Yeah, you don't have to, because like, you know, what are you going to do? Write something and read it? You know, you already did that. That's why you're here. You did the work already.
Yeah, I'm done talking.
Yeah. That would be really funny if one of them, like the last one wins, like, I have nothing more to say. I shot my voice recording this book. You're welcome, world. And then just like
that would be the crowd for that joke for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, tell us what you've got coming on the horizon, anything you want to promote, including the 23rd Hero and its audiobook. Tell us where we can find you, all that stuff.
Yeah, you can find the 23rd Hero wherever books are sold. And if they don't have it in your favorite indie bookstore, they can order it for you, which you might not have known. I didn't know that till this book came out. But Amazon and Bookshop. Bookshop is a great place to get it because they support independent bookstores. And I'm going to be in Iowa on March. Oh gosh, I'd have to look it up at the end of March, for a book festival there. If anyone's in the Midwest, and I will have, that's on my website, my full name, RebeccaAnnNguyen.com. Yeah. And otherwise I'm just, exploring my rom-com prequel to the 23rd Hero.
Oh, I can't wait to read it. As I said, I really want to be on the ARC team for that. I'm very excited.
You're my team.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being a guest. It was so much fun to catch up with you.
It was fantastic. Thanks, Becky.